Marty! You've got to come back with me!
Where?
Back to the future!
Wait a minute, what are you doing, Doc?
I need fuel! Go ahead, quick, get in the car!
No, Doc, I just got here, okay? Jennifer's here, we're gonna take the new truck for a spin.
Well, bring her along. This concerns her, too.
Wait a minute, Doc, what are you talking about? What happens to us in the future? What, do we become assholes or something?
No, Marty. Both you and Jennifer turn out fine. It's your kids, Marty. Something has got to be done about your kids.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Good morning, everyone. I thought we were in a movie theater, so why not watch a movie? And why not watch a really old classic? Everyone is old enough, or as me, has watched this movie when they were a boy, so always good to do something like that. How do you like NAV TechDays this year? Go on. Very good. So where we're going, we don't need soap. This is a session about web services. We're going to talk about web services, and sometimes I know web services feels a little bit like 1985, but a lot has happened since then. So it is now 2015, so we're going to talk about what has happened with web services since it was introduced in NAV a couple of years ago.
I was switching. Yes. It was back in 2001 the tech in Barcelona. I was there, and this is Don Box sitting in a bathtub, introducing soap. As you can see, he is totally into the soap, and that was his message. He was doing this for an audience of 5,000 people, telling that decom has vanished away and that soap was coming in. Well, how many of you do know what decom is? A couple. Not that many. Well, this guy was telling, here we have soap in his bathtub, but also with XML, calling other systems using XML streams. It was very nice, but we are not going to do soap today. We are not going to do this kind of performance. There's no bathtub here. We're not sitting in a bathtub. I'm sorry for that. You can't handle that. So
we tried to get a bathtub here, but we couldn't get it to work.
Oh, you
So I would like to introduce Arend-Jan. Arend-Jan is a fellow MVP from Holland. He started as a global developer, been doing NAV since 2002. He's the co-founder of the Experience Group. He's a blogger, and he is my partner in crime. He's doing all the heavy lifting and all the demos today for you.
And if I don't get it, it is Mark. Because if it fails, it is his failure, of course.
Blame me. Everyone blames me.
You should blame him. So this is Mark. You all should know him because he wrote some books and he is an MVP for a couple of years now. Next year, 10 year celebration. This year,
yes,
10.
This year, 10
year celebration now. So maybe he was the first MVP for Dynamics NAV, I guess?
No. That was Luc and Eric.
A few MVPs here in front. So if we don't know it, they know. Mark is in the Netherlands as well as me, like me, and we have worked together on web services a couple of years ago with a customer.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
We sit next to each other, and our desk
We
was
were
maybe
sitting
half
like
of
this
and we sit like this
the entire
hacking
day.
web services. So makes sense to be here to talk about web services.
So let's have a look at the agenda for today. First, we're going to give you a status update on web services, what has happened with web services in the last couple of years. We're going to talk about different types of web services. Then Arend-Jan is going to do all of his cool demos, how to consume web services in NAV based on REST and managed APIs. And then hopefully at the end we'll have some time for Q&A. Arend-Jan has been programming on the demos. I think he still is.
No, I finished.
We're finished.
Didn't work.
Okay. So let's start with the status update. So where are we today? We have about a decade of web services. So what is the status of the web services today? Why are we using web services? Where does it come from? When I started to do NAV, Navision, it was a very closed system. The only way to get data in and out was with flat files. Then for a short while, we had the option of doing ODBC. We could get data into the database directly. We can do that with SQL Server as well. But we all know that if we write to the database directly, we're not executing any business logic, we're not validating anything. So that's not really a good practice. Then from a file perspective, we went from flat files to XML. XML introduced metadata inside files, allowing us to do file descriptions inside the files. And web services was supporting the XML. It was basically if you send a SOAP web service, you're sending an XML file over the web service. Then recently we have JSON, and JSON is also a new file that we introduce and that we use with web services, and it's changing the way that we do web services as well. And I think most of the things that Arend-Jan is going to show today is based on JSON. So if we look at integration, and if we look at the way that we do things today, I think we've all been working with web services for the last couple of years. And web services really changed the way that we think about software development. It's basically like NAV solutions on steroids. If there is a web service out there, why would you reinvent the wheel? Connecting to web services is very easy. For example, why would you write CAL code to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit if there is a web service that does that for you? So web services are also becoming more and more standardized and common to use, and they're also better known by NAV developers. I still remember that 10 years ago, we had a web call with the MVPs about web services, and I had to actually use Google and Wikipedia to find out what web services were. So we've come a long way since then.
When was that?
Sorry?
When was that?
That was when Navision 5 was still supposed to be the role-tailored client.
Okay, that was before.
That was a long time ago. That was a long time ago. Yes. So when web services were introduced, Microsoft paid a lot of attention to exposing pages as web services. Every page was potentially a web service. I think many partners discovered that just exposing page 42 as a web service is not really a good thing. It doesn't make life very easy for .NET developers. You get a lot of garbage in your web service. So we've all learned a lot about best practices on how to expose web services. I think if you expose an XML port or a query, you get a much cleaner web service than exposing a page as a SOAP web service. NAV out of the box, when we got web services for the first time, it exposes SOAP with XML. I think there is really a trend, the rest of the world moving to REST and JSON, and today we're going to talk about how that reflects to NAV. How does REST work with NAV, and what does OData do with REST as well? So let's dive into the different types of web services. What do we have today, and how does it reflect to NAV as well? I like to think of web services like this triangle. The basic foundation of web services is SOAP. There are still a lot of legacy web services out there that work on SOAP. But I think we can see that people are moving to REST. REST is simplified. It's easier to work with REST services than it's to work with SOAP. And OData is basically a standardization for REST. And on top of that, we have XML and JSON, and how that works with web services. So SOAP is the way that we traditionally were working with web services. SOAP stands for Simple Object Access Protocol. It's a generic object model. It's really flexible. You can put a lot of methods and a lot of files into one WSDL. One web service can actually do a lot of things, but it can also become very complex. It's supported by NAV. If we think about web services and NAV, the first thing that we think of is SOAP, because that was introduced by Microsoft when we got web services for the first time. If you have a SOAP web service, you have a WSDL that describes the objects and that you can use to look at the web service and see what it does. If you use REST web services, REST is standardized. If you go to Wikipedia and you look at the description for REST, then Wikipedia says that REST is where design patterns go into web services. I like that. I'm a big fan of design patterns. You all know that. I'm not quite sure if I completely agree with that, because with a REST web service, you can also make a big mess if you want. It's actually also a lot more flexible, because where in SOAP you have the object model in the WSDL describing exactly what you're doing. REST is much more flexible. You're just sending files back and forth. And you have to have a description about the web service to see what it can do. REST is based on standard HTTP protocol. You have get, post, put, and delete methods. And the standard HTTP methods basically define what you do. And with the SOAP web service, you have to create your own methods. SOAP is just using the post HTTP protocol, and you can basically do whatever you want inside your WSDL. You can have 100 methods in one web service if you want. REST is not something that we typically think of when we have NAV, but OData is based on REST. It's a standardized version of REST. And right now we have queries and pages that we can expose as OData, and that's actually a REST web service. OData is based on REST. It's a Microsoft attempt or a Microsoft project to standardize REST. They started with OData in 2007. So you have to realize that people were already moving to OData when we got NAV with web services in 2009. So we actually got something that was already old. OData is very powerful because it includes a query language. I think we all know that if you go to Amazon or another web shop, your URL is full of these question marks. These question marks are actually a query language that you can say, I expose the customer page and I do question mark where number is 10,000, and then you get one of our favorite Kronos customers. So OData is very powerful because it has this query language. So that makes it a lot more flexible. It is supported by NAV, both read and write. With OData, the HTTP protocol is also extended with the patch command. And the patch command allows caching. And that's actually what Power BI is using for performance as well. Power BI is completely based on OData web services with JSON. So XML and JSON, how do they reflect? I think we all know good old XML. We have a lot of metadata. We have more metadata than data. If you go to websites that describe XML versus JSON, then you have a couple of websites that are really huge fans of JSON, say everything should be JSON, it's faster and more intelligent, and that's actually not true. People say that JSON is faster because it contains less data. Well, XML, you can just leave out the second tag and then it's exactly the same size. And if we send back and forth XML or JSON on the internet, it's always compressed. And if you compress data, the metadata will be compressed most. So from a performance perspective, it doesn't really make a lot of difference if you do XML or JSON. It's a different notation. JSON is actually something that makes the most sense in JavaScript, because JavaScript allows creating objects from JSON, like Vjeko talked about yesterday in his session. So let's go to Arend-Jan. You've heard me talk about the theory enough. Let's do some really cool stuff. This is NAV TechDays. So Arend-Jan is going to show you how easy it is and how powerful REST web services are in combination with NAV.
So let's try to see if this switch thing is working.
This one. Yep, now you're on.
The same screen. How smart is that?
You want the clicker?
Can we switch? Yes?
Yeah, we can switch this to clicker. It's a more manual switch, but we can do it. Yeah. This is playing with the demo gods, guys. This is really, really, really dangerous. Never do this at home.
You can try if you have this one. So, well, let's see if this is going to work. Yes, it does. Wonderful technique. So, SOAP versus REST. So you got an introduction from Mark about SOAP. So this is a recap. REST and SOAP web services, there is a difference in between. They both are web services, but the difference between them is not that you should always choose for a REST web service, always go for a SOAP web service. It is a different task that I do. For the SOAP web service, it is like calling another system, a method in another system. Like, while REST is more or less like exposing data, it is more like a resource. So that is a different task between REST and SOAP. With REST, you have predefined commands like get, post, put, and delete, while SOAP exposes an operation, and it is the SOAP API that defines which operations it exposes. So with SOAP, you use HTTP post, or you can even use SMTP or message queue to send SOAP messages. The REST web services is a point-to-point communication over HTTP. SOAP is more a loosely coupled distributed messaging. I'm not going to explain exactly what that means, but it is loosely coupled. Imagine that you have SMTP. It's an asynchronous call, of course. I never used it, but it is possible to have SOAP over SMTP, believe me. REST is stateless communication. REST means you just issue a command, get data, and after you get the data, the server at the other side is forgetting about you. It's not saving any session normally. Well, SOAP can be stateless, but also can be stateful. You can send several SOAP commands while the server in the back is remembering you the next time that you send a SOAP message. With SOAP, it's only XML. SOAP only accepts XML, an XML envelope, an XML message in it, etc. With REST, you have the JSON, that XML and text, what Mark already explained. And what I have seen from between these two is that using REST web services is far more easy than using SOAP web services. And today, the most of the web services out there in the outside world are REST. I saw investigation, how do you say that? A list of web services that was published maybe 2012, and they made a comparison with maybe 2010, 2008, and the number of web services using REST and SOAP, using REST and JSON, etc., was growing, was increasing to maybe 75%. And maybe today it's even more. So, how are we going to call them? Well, if you want to call, I'm talking about calling them from CAL code, of course, from Dynamics NAV, directly, from a code unit. If you want to call REST SOAP service without any external component, well, that is possible. You're going to do all the message plumbing yourself. You call the web service with a .NET component, HTTP web request. You handle the web response, and there's no strong typing. So you get an XML message, you have to dig into the XML, or you get a JSON file back as a long string, and you have to pull out all the data in it. If you look at code units 12, 94, 97, 99 in NAV 2016, you see a lot of code that is working in this way. If you want to use external components, it's getting easy. For REST, you can have, with JSON, you can have strong type objects with Visual Studio, which means that you can convert the JSON message that you get back as a long string into a strong type object, into an object that you can work with, like my response dot values, my value of the response value dot name dot whatever. That is what I mean with a strong type object. And you can create and can use Visual Studio to create these strong type objects based on the JSON response. And I'm going to demonstrate that, of course. You can use the HTTP web request, HTTP web response, but what is a better way is to use HTTP client and HTTP response message. And I will go into that in a next slide. If you want to use SOAP, you can create a proxy DLL or Visual Studio. Then you have automatically strong typing. You still need to do some plumbing with the .NET binding and endpoint components. Now, in the demos that I prepared, I really tried to find a SOAP web services that is useful, and I couldn't find any. So the only demos that I have for you today is based on REST web services. I have a couple of them, 5, 6 demos. I have to be honest, 4 demos are on REST web services, 2 are on SOAP web services, actually, but you're not seeing that it is SOAP. So service calling is made easy. You see the cartoon. Well, yesterday it was Men's Day, so yesterday maybe the lower picture would work. But there's a difference between REST and SOAP. So the command from REST is just get me coffee. That's it. SOAP is much larger request, telling very polite that you are asking something that is a request for coffee request, etc. So first, HTTP client. Here you see code, and this code snippet is all you need to call any REST web service. Only this code. So if you look at code unit 12, 94, 97, whatever, and you see these lines of code, forget about it, don't use them, go with this code. The HTTP client is available from .NET Framework, I think 4 or 4.5, I'm not sure, but it is available in the .NET Framework where Dynamics NAV 2015 and 2016 is based on. It supports the get, post, put, and delete commands, and it is designed as an easy-to-use alternative for the HTTP web request. The HTTP web request is a .NET component that is used by NAV 2016 in these code units for sending out data to the OCR service, etc. So, just here, .NET Framework 4.5. Well, 4.5, that's starting with 4.5 as a easy-to-use component for HTTP web request. All the demos that I'm doing today is using this snippet of code, nothing more. The HTTP client is working asynchronous. That means it is a method that is not possible to use that in CAL code. But putting that result at the end of it makes the call synchronous. So you always get a response message in this way. you see that ensure success status code, which means basically it's a checking for an HTTP 200 return code. So that the status code, the status is 200 means successful. Any other code like 301, 400, whatever, will fail in this stage. So maybe this could be a try function. And then the result is just a string or an object or whatever, because it can be an image. The result can be a binary data, whatever. And I'm going to show you both in the demonstrations. The next one is the strong typing. So then you have that big JSON response, and now we're going to dig into the response, trying to find out all the values. And I know there is a way to do this in a generic way, finding out what is in the JSON. And yes, if you have a very short, very easy structured JSON, you can go with that. But if you have a more complex JSON response, it is very easy to use Visual Studio to create a strong typed class for it. Using paste special paste JSON as class. It will create a class for you. You just have to compile it, throw it into your add-ins folder, and then you can use the JSON converter. The Newton soft JSON DLL must be in your add-ins folder, only design time. That's because of the compiler looking for that DLL. But runtime, it is already available for you in the service folder, in the service folder itself. So I'm also going to demonstrate this one. I'm going to demonstrate it right now, how this is working. So let me see if I can switch the screen. This is an API, a REST API. Can you read it? I guess you can read it.
Too small.
This is a REST API to find out about the weather. And this is the result. Only thing we need to do is we copy it, start Visual Studio, create a new class library. I call it the NAV weather. Remove this class, say edit, paste special JSON as class. And there we go. That's all. Build solution, succeeded, go to the folder, bin debug, and here I have my DLL. Throw this DLL into your add-ins folder. You guess probably that I already did that for the demo, of course. So I'm going to show you that it is there. Here I have my open weather map DLL. And this one is just working like call the REST web service on this URL. This is the command, weather. I give it an ID, which is Antwerp. I got an API ID because I signed up for an account. I get a result based on the HTTP response message. I can say, give me the content, read it as string. Then this result is deserialized by using JSON convert, the result, and I want to deserialize it into this object. And then the weather is just the weather root object dot weather dot get value, this because it is an array. So let's see what the weather is today. It says broken clouds. This is just live getting the data out from a web service. This call REST web service is basically this one, what you saw before on the slide. This code, no more, no less. If you look at code unit 1297, HTTP request management, you have this lot of code. And a lot of plumbing in there. So, we had HTTP client code, creating strong type classes with Visual Studio. And then the next possibility is managed APIs. A couple of web services out there are complex, very complex. Complex web services can be used with SOAP, can probably be used with REST web services, but there are companies who are creating a managed API. And a managed API hides the complexity for you. So they provide a couple of DLLs, a couple of classes that you just can call straight from your CAL code, straight from C# code, whatever. And it hides all the complexity, it hides all the calling of the SOAP or maybe REST web services for you. It is exactly the same as if it was another system just sitting next to you on your own computer. Your client code only needs to use that API, that downloaded DLL. So all web service calls are done already by a DLL that you can download. It is extremely useful with complex web services, and I have 2 demos today to show you how easy that is. So I want to show you a couple of demos. And why a couple of demos? This is to give you an idea what web services are available outside, to prevent you from reinventing the wheel. Because web services are there at your service. They are servicing you with operations, with tasks that maybe are hard for you to complete because they know exactly what's going on behind the scenes and you only have to call them. So very easy. Verify email address. You might think that you can do this yourself. And of course, you can validate if an email address is valid formed. So does it contain a domain name? Does it contain the @sign, etc.? But what if you want to know if a well-formed email address is really valid, if there is really an inbox behind it? There's only one way to know that. Just send an email to that email address and see what happens. And maybe you get a response that it does not exist, but what if you don't get a response? Does that mean that the inbox is existing? Or does it mean that the email server at the other side is just throwing it away? You won't know. This web service is checking it for you. This web service is checking the mail server, if the mail server exists, if the mail server accepts mail messages sent to an email address. And it is a very easy web service to use. And I'm going to demonstrate this in code, of course. So let me first demonstrate it. I'm going to a customer. Just the customer card. And I change the email address. Communication. Email address. Whatever. It says the mail address syntax check passed. The mail address domain part is empty. Oh, wait. I mistyped probably something. Then I say domain. Now it say the mail address is not a role address. Domain part is not an IP address. Domain part is not fully qualified. Whatever. A couple of messages. It is not okay. So now I have a well-formed email address. Now it says that an MX record for the domain has been found, but the SMTP address validation result failed. So this means, and I did not grab the message and form it well for you, because I guess you can read for a couple of years right now. So this message is now telling us that the email address does not exist at the mail server. So let me type in a valid email address. No message anymore, just accept it. So how does this work behind the scenes? Go down to the code units, verify email address. I have a couple of event subscribers here. It is 2016, of course, so I didn't want to change code unit 18, table 18, etc. Here is the code. I call a REST web service on this address. This is the API/verify. This is the command. I give it a parameter. I give it an API key. The API key that I got from this guys. It is an evaluation there, so you can copy it, but you should go and get your own key, of course. I get a result. Then I have an API result object, and in this API result object, which I converted with using the JSON convert, if the status is in 200, 207, 215. How do I know that? Well, this is because of the documentation that is behind. On this site, you get all the information. There's an online API. How does it work? And here it says you have a couple of API result codes. 207, the mail address is valid. 207, 215, whatever. So a web service with a site that describes how it works, even with some example code. So I look carefully at this example so that I could know how to handle the result, which resulted in this simple lines of code. Verifying the email address. I'm not doing myself checking an MX server. I'm not going to validate if the email address is valid, whatever. Just call this web service. Easy, isn't it? Next demonstration. Barcodes. Now some people may respond, barcoding? I don't need a web service for that. I can use a font. That's true, if you print it with a report. But what if you want to have your barcode as an image? So that you can scan it on a screen, or so that you can set it on a website, on a web shop, for example. Well, this barcode's web service gives you just an image. So this is a web service that is not returning a JSON, it is returning an image. So let me show the website We enter a code. They say, give me this, and here we have a barcode. That's it. Include text, not include text. Well, that didn't work. I think it's an error on their website. We can give it a different height, whatever. And there is a web service behind this. Well, not really a web service. It's just an URL. A URL that is /barcode /C39 for the type of code, of barcode, mycode.png, and some parameters like width, height, and is text drawn. I'm going to demonstrate this one as well. I go to an item, and I just took the item number to create a barcode. The barcode type C39, and there we go. Include text, and we have the text behind it. We want a different one? No problem. That's quite simple. How was this done in code? I hide the event subscribers again. This is for the change of the code. I have an option file of an option field, and well, I want to just have an event subscriber on it, so no code behind the fields. And then here I have my generate barcoding. I must know my type based on the option field. It's just C39, etc. Then I call the REST web service. Again, on this address, this is the command, barcode /item number, or this is the type /item number. I gave it the command get, because I just want to get something. And then the result is an image stream. It's just a stream. And I put this into a barcode, which is a blob field on the item table. That's it. It's that easy. And now you can print this on paper, on a page, or whatever. So very simple, easy to use. If you use, of course, again, this code, which is behind. It's the only code you need to call a REST web service, again. Next demonstration. SMS, bulk SMS. It's one of the sponsors of NAV TechDays. I don't know what they are sponsoring, but they are one of the sponsors. Bulk SMS is a web service that you can use to send SMS. Okay, that's in the name, I guess. You can send SMS to a mobile. So imagine what makes it possible if you have, let's say, an SMS code, an SMS text that you send to a customer, hey, your package is being shipped, your order is being shipped right now. Or you send an SMS to some guy in a warehouse, you should pick this order, or whatever. Or maybe you can send an SMS to the CEO telling him that whatever the turnover, this new order that is making a lot of profit. You can do a lot of things with bulk SMS. Well, bulk SMS, let's go to the website, is asking you to sign up. I signed up for an evaluation account, gives me 1,000 per day. And there's an API behind. And there's a very easy API. Well, not that easy as the other ones. And the reason is that this API is not based on the get command, but on the post command. Because you have to send data to it, a large message probably, together with your API key together with your the phone number that you want to send a text message to. So let's first demonstrate how this works. I have a bulk SMS setup, a username and a password for my account. By the way, this one is using a password key, which is a GUID. If you ever have to store passwords in NAV 2016, you should do it in this way. Set password, and then use the service password table to save the password, because this one will encrypt your password. So save the password as encrypted in your database. It's a pattern, a very small one. You can use it to have your password saved in the database encrypted. So go back. Oh, come on. Close this one. Send an SMS message. Now I'm going to, let's see if I can get my SMS over here. Come on. Freezing. Ah, there we go. Yes. So this is my phone. I'm typing in a number. Send SMS. And hopefully, well, there it is. This is really my phone, receiving this message. So let's go to the code. So now you all have my phone number. Okay. Don't SMS me right now. Looking into the send SMS code, there are a couple of things going on here. I have to send some data. And if you look at the SMS API, I'm not going to open it here, but it is done a little bit different from the documentation. And the reason is that if I followed the documentation of bulk SMS literally, I had a problem with NAV 2016. The .NET interoperability did not allow me to follow all the rules that bulk SMS has in its API. But basically, posting to a REST web service is exactly the same as posting an HTML form. Posting an HTML form means you have that HTML form, type in some data in some fields, press post, press OK, press whatever, log in, whatever button there is, and then behind the scenes there's an HTTP post. HTTP posting form data. And this is exactly what I did here. I compose exactly the same data that would go in if you use HTTP post on forms, on the HTML form. And this one is telling the data that it is form URL encoded. So now I use post together with the string content, well, and then I get a response message. What can you do with SMS further than only sending an SMS out to somebody telling that his server, that his order is being shipped? I just want to demonstrate another possibility. I go to user setup and I allow use two-factor authentication. Say OK. close Dynamics Nav. Opening the SMS here. Now I start Dynamics Nav. And here says, enter the code you received by SMS. You saw it coming in here, so I just type in the code that is here, and to demonstrate that this is really working, put an X behind it, say OK, not allowing me. I have to type in exactly this code. It was generated and sent by SMS, waiting for me to enter this. So here you have your two-factor authentication in Dynamics NAV 2016, using bulk SMS. What are you waiting for? Okay. 2 demos left. The next one, DocuSign. I'm not sure. Who of you know what DocuSign is? A few. DocuSign is a service that lets you digitally sign a document. You can send a PDF file to the DocuSign service and telling the DocuSign service that somebody needs to sign this. Then the other person will get an email. That email will lead him to the PDF, giving him the possibility to review the PDF and then digitally sign, which literally means that the PDF gets a kind of signing, of writing on top of the PDF. And then you get back that signed PDF, and that means that it is, well, kind of legal. So DocuSign could be used to let customers, for example, sign an order confirmation. And this is what I'm going to show you today. I will send out an order confirmation to DocuSign, telling that another customer, the customer needs to sign the order confirmation before I'm going to release the order. So let's first open the mailbox where the DocuSign message is coming in. So that you can see that I'm nothing faking here. No emails in this mailbox. There will flow in a new email in a minute. I go to my sales orders. I set up customer 30,000 with the email address, the correct email address. And I say email confirmation. And just a small thing here, send with DocuSign. I did not put together a button, send with DocuSign, whatever. I just pick up the PDF. I say send to DocuSign. It is sending. And now, hopefully, well, here it already it is. I got an email. Please sign sales order. Review document sends me to the DocuSign site. I have to sign that I agree to use electronic records and signatures. So now I'm the customer. Here is the PDF coming from Dynamics NAV. I can sign here. I can even select a style. I can type in my complete name. There it is. And I say here change style. So if there is a different writing that I like, I can choose that. So let's pick one. This does not completely match my writing, but okay. I say adopt and sign. Here you see it. I press finish. And then the customer gets the question, do you also want to use this? I say no thanks. And now I get an email. The customer gets an email that with the signed sales order, so for his record, so that he can save the signed part. And also the sender gets an email with the signed document. And as you can imagine, there is also the possibility to get it directly into Dynamics NAV, saying that this one was signed, saving the file in a blob, etc. I did not make it that far. It's just to get you on the idea that these types are possible. So how is this done? Here's the code. Nothing to do with REST web services. As you can imagine, this is a lot more complex. So what DocuSign did is they created a DLL. They created a managed API. You have to get that DLL. The DLL is available on NuGet. Who knows NuGet? Ah, it's more than the previous question. So I just want to show you how to get this file on my system. If we go to this page, then you see here, to install the DocuSign.net client, run the following command in the package manager console. So what the heck is the package manager console? Well, something in Visual Studio. Because they do not think about Dynamics NAV, of course. They only know Visual Studio and other development environments. But this is something that you can run in Visual Studio. Then you get the download, the DLL. And then you can copy that DLL to the add-ins folder and for Dynamics NAV. No other things to do in Visual Studio. We're not even to compile something in Visual Studio, whatever. I just create an empty project because I have an empty project that the Visual Studio needed before it can download a package. So I just have a console application, and I call this one temp DocuSign. Okay, oh well, I used that one already before, DocuSign tool. Now I need to open the package manager console. It is in View, Other Windows, Package Manager console. I paste this command, that's coming from here. Press enter, and now it downloads the DLL. Now we'll go to the folder of the project. I have a packages folder, and here's my DLL. And I just copied this DLL to my services add-in. Well, it's already here, DocuSign, this DLL, in program files, services, Dynamics NAV 90 service add-ins, etc. So then I can start writing my code. Well, I'm not walking you through all the code here, but it's basically you are telling the web service who you are, your username, your password, your integrator key. I have a demonstration account, which means that you can send any numbers any number of documents, but there will be some red text on top of it that this is a developer account with a demo key. Don't copy the key because you don't have my password. You create an envelope, and then you create a tab. This tab is the position on the PDF where the customer must sign. So with this code, you can position somewhere on the page where the customer will place his sign. Then I have a signer, which is the recipient email, recipient name. Well, that is added to the envelope. Then I give it the status send. before I send it, I give it the status sent. No, I don't get that, but you can also say created, which basically means that you can create it and then go to the website of DocuSign and then modify it further. And then I get that PDF file that comes in, that was created by printing the PDF, printing the order confirmation, and I send it with envelope.create. And that's it. How did I get that PDF? Well, just by going to document mailing. Here you have that email file from sales header, and here I have that confirmation sent with DocuSign, you saw before. And then I call this file, this function DocuSign file with the attachment file path, etc., and some information about the customer itself. And here I compile some information about that PDF file, but in the end it is calling the request sign with a send tool, email address and name, the file path from the created PDF file on the server, and the file name, and that's it. This integration in this code unit that you see here was created just before my session at Directions in Mannheim. It was created in just an hour. It's not because I'm that smart, it's because this is so easy to use. So if it takes me 1 hour, well, okay, I have some experience with web services, but if it takes me 1 hour, maybe you have 1 hour and 50 minutes to complete this. It's that easy. You don't believe? It is. All right. Next demonstration. Synchronize an Office 365 inbox, including attachments. Imagine that you have an inbox, Office 365. It receives emails with, for example, these PDF files that you want to OCR. Instead of downloading them or automatically forwarding them to the OCR service, you can also get them at first in Dynamics NAV, storing them in a blob, maybe previewing them, and then with a press on the button, send them to the OCR service, or maybe automatically send them to the OCR service. So what I'm going to show you, to demonstrate, is how easy it is to get all the contents of an Office 365 email inbox. And it's also a managed API. And get your mail ready, because I'm asking you in a few minutes to send mail to this inbox, because I want to prove that this is working, of course. So here's the site getting started with Exchange Web Services Managed API. A lot of documentation here. I'm not going to walk through, you can read for yourself. But basically, it is exactly the same as the DocuSign part. You have to download a DLL, you have to install a package. And the package can be found here. And here you have the same thing, install package Microsoft Exchange Web Services. This gives you 2 DLLs. These 2 DLLs are also available already in NAV 2016. But I choose to download them for myself, put them together with my solution, so that my solution cannot be broken by a new version that is being used by Microsoft in NAV 2016. So, in fact, it's duplicated, this DLL. I'm going to demonstrate this. First going to open the inbox that I'm reading. Sign out from this one. Sign into this new email box. This one is empty. I'm going to the online inbox. And here, in this part, it will show the incoming emails. So now I'm going to ask you, send an email, including an attachment, to finance@krones.company. I will type it for you. Finance@krones.company. I can hear emails coming in already. A lot of emails. So let's see what's happening in the Dynamics NAV. Well, here you see them flowing in directly into NAV. Total of 8 items, 2 are unread. And this page is synchronizing every 10 seconds. And of course, this can be done using a NAS server that is running it each minute or each 5 minutes or whatever you want. So to prove that this is working, I pick one that is including an attachment. This one has an attachment. I open this one. Here we go. You see? Just coming in. I'm not faking this. It's synchronizing right now, so it freezes. I should take this one, Alan is telling me. I'm not sure if you want to. I'm brave. I'm just trying it. Don't have a wrong picture.
Depends on yourself. You see?
Oh, okay, well, we can handle this one. Just send in. So, a lot of emails are flowing in right now. I'm going to close this one. So what's going on behind the scenes? How does this code look like? First of all, I have that page over here. It's synchronizing from the next. I have that here, total items 33, unread items 1. This is because I have this get inbox count. This is a call from the page. I test if I have a service URL. This was created by Auto Discovery. Then I ask to create Exchange Web Services credentials. Let's go to that one. I have an Exchange account username. I must have an Exchange account password key. And then I create web credentials.web credentials, which is basically a .NET component. Then I do a folder.bind based on the well-known folder name .inbox. There's also a class coming from that DLL. I can tell you there were a lot of .NET variables going on here. And then I simply can set folder.unreadCount, folder.totalCount. That's it. It's that easy. Then how to synchronize the inbox. Again, I do this thing with folder.bind. And then I have a small wrapper. This is because I had a problem with the .NET interoperability using the web service synchronization. So I'm switching to Visual Studio. I open the NAV sync wrapper. There's a little code here, that much. But basically it is about the sync folder items. It gets the Exchange service, it gets the folder ID and a sync state. And then the sync folder items gives me, based on the synchronization state, what are the new items in the inbox. So I'm not reading the inbox like, give me all the messages and then I'm checking if I already read that messages. I leave this for Office 365 based on the synchronization state that I save in the database, which is a large text basically. And this key is then recognized by Office 365, so it knows at what time you had that synchronization, so it can determine which emails were new. Then I want to have normal items, no things like scheduling for agenda or whatever. And then I get this one, a change collection. And the problem with change collection was that I could not create an instance of change collection in CAL code, because change collection is a generic item, a generic class, and generics are not supported by CAL currently. Maybe in the future, so I can get rid of this one. But because of that CAL code does not support the generic classes, I had to create this Visual Studio wrapper, C# wrapper around the change collection, which is basically enumerable. So the only thing then I can need to return the synchronization state, just to save that one in a database. I give it return a count. I even don't use it in my code. If there are more changes available, because it only gives you the next 10 or 20 or 50 items that are new in the inbox. And with this boolean you can find out if there are any more. And this one is the most important thing. I have an I-enumerator. This I-enumerator that I return based on this function, get enumerator, is used in my code here with this for each command, which is new in NAV 2016. So this is the NAV EWS sync wrapper, and the for each command automatically gets for me this I-enumerator, get enumerator. This is because I inherited from I-enumerable. And then I can look into my item change, which is basically a class coming from the DLL that I downloaded. Then I can look into the change type and see if it was a change type create, update, delete, or the read flag change. So with this demonstration I only use the create, which means basically this is a new email. But you can also have an updated, well, maybe not an updated email, but you can have an updated scheduling item, an agenda item, whatever. You can also see this agenda items with this code. If it is being deleted from the inbox, you also get the message that it was deleted, and if the read flag was changed, you can also track that down. Then, if that one was created, I just say, okay, if it was an email message, then bind to the email message. Each email message in Office 365 has a unique ID. you can just bind directly to the email message. You don't need to have that inbox ID or whatever. You can just directly grab an email by binding it using its item ID. So here I have that item change.item ID, bind the email message, which is some code here, bind email message, and here I set some properties. I want to have my first class properties like sender, receiver, subject. I want to have a normal body, and also I want to include attachments. If you don't include attachments here, you have to get them later with an extra call of your code. And then here I have that email message.bind on this service with this ID with my property set. And then I return a message. And then here I can just say my email item from the two recipients, the copy recipients, etc. and write them into my database. If my email message has attachments, then for each attachment in the attachments, and then I say, okay, if my attachment is not in line, it's really attached, it's not that picture embedded in a mail message, I'm going to save it in a blob. So I'm not going to walk through each line, but this is basically what's behind the scenes. And then I change the email message to read. And if there's a read receipt requested, I say suppress that one. I hate them. I don't want to let the other person know that I have read the message, because maybe I don't want to reply, and then I get that message from, hey, I saw you read that one, why are you not replying? All right, so this was the final demo. If you want to have more useful web services, here are some ideas. Azure File Storage, complete API. So you can store files on Azure directly from CAL code. EIN search, which is basically a database filled with item information, filled by the vendors who who sell these items. And the programmable website contains tons of web services that are available. It's just a directory of web services that are available. So I have a call to action for you. First of all, learn .NET interoperability. There was a lot .NET DLLs behind all this code. If you don't know how to use .NET interoperability, start with it right now.
Yeah. And I can really second that on the project that I did with Arend-Jan. I think it was the project where I learned the most about .NET and C#, and really start deep diving into this stuff, because it's really important and it makes your life easier. We are living in a connected world, even though Arend-Jan broke the cloud. I think Azure is now, we had broken clouds, remember?
Yeah, we had broken
so you
clouds.
Broke the cloud.
Yes, that was the weather today. Yes.
So no more Azure, guys, sorry.
So learn C#. If your .NET DLLs that you can download cannot be used in serial code, you probably have to write a wrapper, and well, then you have to type C#, write C# code yourself. Think simple. Choose your battle wisely. Do not try to reinvent the wheel. If there is a web service available out there for that task that you are trying to do, go and use that web service. Or it can be for free, or you pay a few bucks per month to use a web service. So that's it. We open up for Q&A.
So let me ask the first question. I think Arend-Jan did a really great job, guys, with all these demos. It was really, really impressive. This was really my easiest presentation at NAV TechDays ever. My first question to Arend-Jan would be, is this going to be available on your blog, Arend-Jan?
I got this question multiple times after Mannheim, after Direction Orlando, and the answer is yes. It will be available after Tech Days. But I have to have some spare time to write my blogs. That's my challenge, to find time to write blogs. But okay, I will post this code. No support, of course.
But you have his phone number.
And even you have some email addresses as well, but I'm not looking in these inboxes for any support questions.
And this session is recorded, so it will be on Mibuso, and I find it very useful for those sessions if you attended that I know that Arend-Jan said something, but I don't really remember, so you can go on Mibuso, download the video, download the slides, and then you can look at the details again.
We have 6.5 minutes left for questions, and good questions get T-shirts. We have got 5 of them. So who wants to get a T-shirt?
I think we have a question over there.
You have to ask a question for that.
You have a microphone? There's a microphone over there.
There's a microphone over there.
I was just curious, maybe not quite as knowledgeable, but on the security issues regarding calling these web services, what should you be looking for?
You mean security issues with calling web services?
Viruses, problems getting from a foreign web service, coming back to you somehow?
There are some security issues that you should think about. Calling a web service, of course you should trust that web service. So any free web service is probably something that you should carefully investigate if you can trust that web service. That's first. If it is a paid web service, then it's probably also coming with some kind of support. So you can ask that question. The next thing is, if you're going to store any username and password in the database, basically means that you trust your NAV application to store this username and password. Any user who is using that application is theoretically capable of using this username and password to call that web service. So imagine that Office 365 inbox part, if you are storing username and passwords of end users in the database to let them know that there is an email coming in their inbox from NAV, gives the possibility to other users to read his colleague's inbox. Should not do that. The only way to do this kind of synchronization is to use the consent framework, where you let the end user trust the application on his machine to read his inbox. It's a totally different part, and I decided to not go into the consent framework here, because it's more complex, but never store personal email box credentials in NAV. That's not the thing you should do. Next question. You got a T-shirt?
Yeah.
Okay, you got on.
I am your lovely assistant. I do that stuff for you.
You
That's
can
why I
follow.
have the ponytail.
I have a question about the documentation. How do you figure out how to take care of all these pieces of code?
Just
consume
read
these
the
things?
API documentation that the web service providers are providing, or go and search online with Bing, Google, whatever search machine you want to use.
Do you have any recommendations on starting those learning about .NET interoperability?
I always first start with the site of the web service, and then I look for C# API documentation, how to use that API with C#, because that one comes the closest to how you can use it from CL code.
Yeah.
That's the
I-
one how
I
I'm doing
agree,
it.
and that's why it's important to, if you don't want to program C#, at least learn how to read it, because reading C# makes your life a lot easier as an NAV developer.
And if you have to use some .NET framework DLLs, like you have to use an array, .NET array, or .NET convert, or whatever, and you don't know how to get it, just Google on C# convert, and you will get an MSDN article where you can see where that class is, in which DLL it is. So, and then you can go to your code, pick that DLL, pick that class. Next question.
Do RESTful web services support transport and or message security?
Message security, you say?
Yes, like signing and encrypting the HTTP request.
With SSL certificates or basic
Yeah, for
authentication?
example.
Hmm?
Yes, for example.
Of course, because it is the URL that is defining if it is secured with an SSL certificate. And what I didn't show here, but I will try to post on my blog as well, is how to add basic authentication to it. The thing is that all these demos accept a username password in a URL or in the data that is being posted. But you also can have some REST APIs that accept basic authentication. OData from Dynamics NAV is doing that. And then you have to add an authorization header. Well, that's different stuff. And that was the part I was trying to create when we started here this morning, but I didn't get through it that fast. So I will try to figure out how to add authorization headers and post it on my blog as well. What for the guy behind you?
What are if you're exposing the web services instead of consuming them, what are the license implications? I mean, if you're only saving in a couple of tables more than the simple user.
License implication of exposing web services from Dynamics NAV, you mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. If you are exposing web services from Dynamics NAV, and they are used by the customer of your customer, you can use them for free. You have a web service user that you can create together with a web service key, which basically serves as the password for the web service user. This password then it cannot be used to log in into the client. But as soon as you expose web services that are used by your the employees of the company, then you have to have a user in the license. So that is the difference between. You got a T-shirt? All right, okay. I have one T-shirt left.
We're over time, but we have one T-shirt left. Just throw it in.
We have 36 seconds overtime. I want to throw a T-shirt myself.
Okay, we have one more question. You want to have a T-shirt yourself?
Hi, no, I want to throw one.
You want to throw it yourself?
I also want to throw one.
But that's the furthest one away, so you have to really throw.
Yeah, we've been having some problems with web service APIs that are using the OAuth protocol. Do you know of any libraries that we can make our life easier in this way?
It's hard to get a question. Did you get a question, Mark?
No.
It's hard for me to hear you.
Yeah, we've been trying to use some APIs that use OAuth as the...
OAuth?
OAuth.
Yes?
Yeah, protocol.
I'm not using OAuth, so it's something new to me.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, so who does know OAuth from you? 2 or 3? So I'm not the only one who's not knowing it.
It's a security authentication protocol that's quite complicated.
Okay.
I wondered if you had any experience of
I've
any
never come across
libraries. Okay.
Basically was the same.
Okay.
What's the same question?
Wasn't it?
No other questions?
Just.
Hello. My question is.
T-shirts are gone now.
Okay, never mind. Could some of these demos be done with new data exchange framework we use for currency exchange update?
Yes, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yes. Some of them, not all of them, but some can be done using the exchange framework.
Is that easier, maybe?
For some of them, yes, probably. Yes, that could be easier.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thanks
Have
everyone.
a nice NAV Tech Days.